St Albans is a wealthy town in Hertfordshire, so perhaps it is a place where we could expect owners to still be able to prioritise their pets' welfare.
A lot of love, but not a lot of food.
Well, she probably goes for maybe 4 trims and haircuts a year, so every few months she has that, and just sort of lots of cuddles and playing with, really.
Not very much at all, actually.
Pretty much, I'm afraid, yes. I mean, at home she sort of tends to rule the roost a bit.
It's not the state of America. That's where they treat their dogs like human beings. Don't do that.
I don't, really.
I do.
They live in the house, they sit on the sofa.
She's not allowed on the sofa, she's not allowed upstairs, she doesn't have special treats because I don't want her to get fat.
We wanted to know how the recession was affecting cats and if this was making a difference for them. So we visited a cat sanctuary in Luton, Animals at Risk shelter, to interview Peter and Maggie Morrison and ask them about their experience.
He's come in, Telscombe Road, a friend of the shelter was told about him, and he came in and no owner. We leave it a week, see if anyone's turned up for him. So he's obviously a stray, he's been slung out. Because he was uncastrated, he's been off looking for a mate. He's turned up with us, we've waited a week, had him castrated, and now he's in good health and he'll be looking for a new home shortly.
Oh, very good, but I think you do need insurance.
Well, his medical care, he's not actually insured because the kind of dog that he is, he very rarely gets ill. So I don't insure him, so that kind of saves me money.
She's needed insurance and we're very glad we had it.
It is expensive to go into the vet.
It does mean they get the best.
She hurt her ear the other week, and so it was £30 just for the vet to see her for 5 minutes, and then antibiotics were £10. So I mean, it can add up.
You know, the pet insurance has gone up quite dramatically over the last few years. A point in case being her insurance from last year to this year with the same company had gone up by 80%.
I don't have insurance,
so I've changed pet insurance.
I was amazed. A friend of ours has had a dog that's apparently not well, and they've paid £3,000 in vet's fees to establish that it's perfectly all right.
It's saved me approximately £30 a month by changing insurance.
My friend who owns the dog has a bad back, and he had an MRI scan, and for a human the MRI scan cost £685. For the dog, it costs £1,900.
I put money away every month into a special account, so if she does get sick, which she hasn't done so far, I'll have money there to draw upon.
Too expensive, but you have to pay it if you have to pay it.
And I always tell the vet that we haven't got insurance. So because I don't trust them, I think that they'll find something to do, you know, they'll give her a scan or something when it's unnecessary, I feel. So I'd rather say I haven't got insurance.
I'd say the recession it's really hit us hard. Well, you see, Bella is a massive dog, and well, we used to treat her with the best steak you could get, fillet steak, and now we have to just do with ribeye, and it's just not a favourite, and I think she deserves better, but it's so difficult in these hard times. And obviously healthcare, insurance for our dog it's so high up, and it's like I would not risk anything for my Bella. Like, if anything happened, I'd just be devastated, but it's so difficult to get health insurance cheap or at a decent price, and you just can't cope. So I feel really bad about it, but I might have to cut my pet insurance, and I don't know what I'm going to do.
People are trying to find alternatives to make sure their pets are still getting the care they need, but there are potential problems with this, as standards of care may be inconsistent. For pet owners, the thought of having to give up their animal due to the costs would clearly be devastating, causing people to give up or abandon their animals.
The animals come in here first, pop them in a cage, they're defleed, dewormed, make sure they know how to use the cat-led tray, find out if they're eating well. We have our own clinic in Luton. It's opened 2 mornings a week, Tuesday morning and Thursday mornings. We have a semi-retired vet come in, he does our operations for us, does the consultations, gives them a check over, The cats that are in here, we find out if they're sociable with other cats. If they are, then they can go into the big kitten run where they can join the other cats. If they're not happy in the presence of other cats, then they go down to the bottom to our 5 pens we have down there, called them the Corba pens, so that the cats are given the best possible chance of getting rehomed. If somebody only wants the one cat, we tell them the history about the cats, and then we leave them alone to make up their own mind, because the animals have to choose the people as well as the people choosing the animals.
It was in a terrible state. He wasn't castrated, and the ear is going to cost a fortune to get put right because it could be cancerous. Just before Christmas, when it was bad weather, we went in because we had a call out to say there was kittens in someone's back garden, and when we got there, they were in terrible condition. Especially a little black and white one that had no hair on it at all, and we were really lucky that it survived.
The recession doesn't really affect how I treat my pet. He still gets the same kind of treatments and stuff as he did before.
I don't think the recession has affected my pet at all.
Not at all.
In St Albans, the majority of people didn't seem overly affected by the economic downturn, but their main concern was the cost of the medical care for their dogs. Vet prices have clearly gone up, and some are struggling to afford this necessary treatment.
Since the start of the recession, yes. Simple answer. We know that everyone's got their own financial problems. They're no different from anyone else in the country, so even though our supporters still support us, the numbers or the amount has dropped. They still support us, but they've reduced their ways of helping us.
We do get a large amount of food given by the general public.
A big drop in the donations have then picked up a little bit, but it's still well down on what it used to be in the early part of, say, 2000 up to 2007. So it has changed a lot.
Oh, tremendously, especially this last year. We're finding them in all sorts of places. We're finding them in wheelie bins and dustbins. We're finding them in cardboard boxes. It's been absolutely sealed up with no air holes in it. And the cruelty aspect in the animals have grown a lot, in both cats and dogs.
One case last year, somebody left a cat in a box down at our clinic. It was out in the blazing sun, one of the few warm weekends we had, and they sent us an email saying, "I've been really stupid. I've left the cat down at the clinic, not realising it should have come to the shelter. And when we got down there and picked the cat up, it was an old boy." We thought, well, that's another old boy that we can keep at the shelter, because we do keep the geriatric cats and dogs.
Because it's a no-kill animal shelter.
So they live out their lives here. But when we took him right out of the box, a rear leg, it was absolutely eaten away with cancer, covered with ulcers, pouring with blood and pus, and it was one that we couldn't save.
We normally get telephone calls to say that people will tell you that there's a mum in kittens in the garden shed, and she can't get anywhere near the female, or the mum. And we ask how old the kittens are, and they'll say about 3 months old. Well, they're really too old for us to tame, so we trap them and have them spayed and neutered.
The thing is that cats are secretive. Where they had the Dangerous Dogs Act, because there were packs of dogs roaming the streets, that problem's mainly gone now because we've got the dog wardens. The cats normally hide up during the day and they come out at night, so you don't see it's a hidden problem. But in the areas where there's a lot of fast food shops, the cats do a good problem, because the rats and mice will be after the fast food, and the cats, especially if they're working cats, they're feral. We have them trapped, spayed and neutered, ear-tipped for identification. They can go on then to be working cats, and lots of cases the shopkeepers say, "I want rid of the cats," and we said, "No, it's not a good idea. You're in an area in here where there's a lot of fast food shops. People, being as they are, throw away a lot of the chips and bits and pieces that they don't eat from the fast food shop, and that's food for the mice and the rats. So to keep the mice and rats down is to have a cat there, even if it is feral. You don't have to feed it, it will find enough food for itself, and that will benefit you, because if it has environmental health come along and find your place has got rats and mice in it, you're going to get closed down.
Normally in the winter when it really gets cold, a cat has its kittens. She might go into the road, she gets killed, run over, and her kittens are left there. Somebody might find the kittens frozen solid in the garden shed. We can bring them back to the shelter and sort of bring up their body temperature, but they die within 24 hours. But Noel, our little Noel, he had even crystals in his little tongue. He was frozen solid. And we got him in that state when he came into the shelter, and he's actually the only one that survived. Unfortunately, he's always got a runny nose and runny eyes, but he's a little darling.
Got a call in from a lady who said, I've seen this cat in the car park in a certain part of Luton. We've been down there, had a look around, found the cat, found that it had an open wound on his side for a lack of description, and it's full of maggots, and it was screaming.
And what happens then, if they've got dirty bottoms, the blowflies lay eggs there, and the maggots crawl inside them, up the rectum, and they eat the animal from the inside out.
So it seems the UK's recession has affected some areas of voluntary work at least. But more than that, far more people who love their pets. The financial pressure can become a remained problem. Britain has always been a nation of animal lovers, and that hasn't changed, but in these austere times it is becoming harder and harder for some people to bear.